Good morning, Bimblers. And you join me at Patricroft station. I've been wanting to start a Bimble here since I moved to Newton Willows. It's the next stop down the line, isn't it? So today, we're off down the Bridgewater Canal to have a look at Worsley, Wardley and Walkden. www.letsbimble.
Maybe it didn't work at the time, maybe it never did. A mistake that made the distance, or a trying way to live. Maybe it's the time that you grabbed at my arms and electricity flowed from my shoulders to palms in a white hot glow, leaving white cold scars left bare and unshowed just to prove they were ours. Maybe it worked, maybe it never did, maybe it never was quite like how it is. Maybe it didn't work at the time, maybe it never did. A novelty improvement left lonely as it gives. Or maybe it's the time that you closed both your eyes and you pouted your lips as you waited for mine in the soft red glow of your soft cold arms. Serotonin burnt holes through my veins to my heart. Maybe it worked, maybe it never did, maybe it never was.
And so we travel down the Ferric Brown Bridgewater Canal to Worsley Delph. It's Worsley Delph that makes the canal this funny colour. It's iron ore seeping out of the coal mines here in Worsley. And curiously, the canal continues into the coal mine, down and down into the ground to get all the coal out. It was an insane feat of engineering at the time, considering that some people think that the Bridgewater Canal is the first canal in the UK. I mean, it's not. The Sankey Canal is the first canal in the UK, 1757, whereas the Bridgewater Canal, 1761. The canal came to be to serve the coal mine, a coal mine that was owned by Francis Egerton, the 3rd Duke of Bridgewater. In fact, the last Duke of Bridgewater. He never married, and as far as I know, he didn't have any children. More on that in a bit. Francis came up with the idea for the canal to get his coal down into Manchester, which meant he could move more coal at a cheaper price, which meant more people could buy it. He started the project on his own, but he decided he needed a clever clogs to help him do it, and that clever clogs was James Brindley. He's the fella who got all the water out of the wet earth colliery in Bolton, not using steam pumps or big engines, but using the power of the water itself, the River Irwell. It was a water-powered water pump. Well, James Brindley built a labyrinth of canals underneath the earth so that coal miners could dig from the Worsley 4 feet. It was all the barges going down that coal mine that allowed the iron ore to seep into the canal and make it this murky brown colour, like an old cassette tape. Let's bimble.
From your heart, maybe it worked, maybe it never did, maybe it never was quite like how it is. Maybe it worked, maybe it never did, maybe it never was quite like how it is. And I quite like how it is.
been wanting to visit St Mark's Church here in Worsley for quite some time. As you're navigating the motorways around here, it looms quite large, and every time I pass it, I have a quick look on my phone to see if there's anything interesting about it, and there's lots. But now I'm here, I'm finding that the motorway looms quite large in St Mark's churchyard. It's all I can hear at the moment. Am I shouting? St Mark's was designed by Sir George Gilbert Scott, one of the most impressive architects of the Victorian era, if not the most impressive. He designed the Albert Memorial and Glasgow Cathedral, and he also designed the Grand Midland Hotel near St Pancras Station in London. That's the one where they filmed the video for Wannabe by the Spice Girls. The sheer volume of his output is impressive, not only architecturally, but in the trouser department as well. Rocket fuel down there. His sons became architects. That would be John Aldridge Scott and George Gilbert Scott Jr. His grandson was Sir Giles Gilbert Scott, and Sir George was the great uncle of Eliza Beth Scott. She designed the Royal Shakespeare Theatre and the Shredded Wheat Factory in Welwyn Garden City. But Sir George Gilbert Scott wasn't the only contributor here at St Mark's. The lectern inside was designed by John Douglas, my favourite. In the churchyard you'll find a memorial to a St Vincent Beechley. He was the vicar here in Worsley between 1850 and 1869. Before that, he was the vicar over in Fleetwood, and he set up Ross Hall School in Fleetwood, which is housed in the old home of Sir Peter Hesker Fleetwood, the fellow who invented Fleetwood, therefore inventing my favourite chippy. St Vincent Beechley was the president of the Manchester Photographic Society, and when he died in 1899, aged 93, he was the oldest member of the clergy in the whole of the UK. Let's bimble.
Things to show me, but life just keeps turning back to the way things were before. Oh, knew this time you would still see all that became attached from the way things were before.
And so, Bimblers, we reach something that I don't quite know how to pronounce. Is it Old Walkie Dam? Or Old Walk Dam? Or Old Wark Dam? I'm not sure. Let me know down in the comments. The dam was all built at the behest of Francis Egerton, the first Earl of Ellesmere, not Francis Egerton, the 3rd Duke of Bridgewater. As I've previously said in this video, he never married. And to the best of my knowledge, he didn't have any children. Francis Egerton, the 1st Earl of Ellesmere, started out as Francis Leveson Gower, and his father was George Leveson Gower, and his uncle was Francis Egerton, the 3rd Duke of Bridgewater. Clear as mud. Francis Leveson Gower changed his name to Francis Egerton by royal licence, and he inherited all of Francis Egerton, the 3rd Duke of Bridgewater's assets and all of his royal titles. And with some of that money, he changed an old mill pond into a lovely lake so he could go boating on a Sunday afternoon. Very nice.
We were meant to lead extraordinary lives. It changed with time. You still know me. We just keep facing back to the way things were before. It should plainly show what we're meant to know. We have a motive, we have is falling back to the way things were before. It just proves to me how it's meant to feel. We have a motive, we have the time. We were meant to lead extraordinary lives. It just proves to me how it's meant to feel. We have a motive, we have the time. We were meant to lead extraordinary lives.
Well, Bimblers, that wasn't the journey that I planned, but we managed to get here in the end. We've come to St Mary's Roman Catholic Cemetery in Wardley. The land that the cemetery stands on was bought in the 1930s by the Catholic Church, and the fellow who owned it previously wanted to offload it sharpish because he knew they were going to build the East Lancs Road and house prices would plummet. Wardley Hall became the home of the Bishop of Manchester, who at the time would have been a Thomas Henshaw. He's buried round here somewhere. But that's not the grave we've come to visit. I'm much more interested in Joe Gladwin. It's a name that you probably don't recognise, but if you've seen the actor, you know exactly who I was on about. According to my big book of Bimble, the official one, available at Bimblism Live, he played Fred Jackson in Coronation Street, and he played Stan in Nearest and Dearest with Hilda Baker, and he was Wally Batty, that's Nora Batty's husband, in Last of the Summer Wine. He's the fella that spoke like that, you know, with the stereotypical Lancashire accent. Only it's not. It's just what Southerners think we sound like. He actually had a speech impediment called rhoticism. It's where you can't pronounce your R's. Jonathan Ross has got the same thing. So when you Southerners take the mickey out of us Northerners, you're not getting it right. You're not talking proper like what we do. Let's bimble.
Magnetically brought me to you. Visions that cut through the cold to my heart. Feelings of warmth now resume. Feeling that coming from you. Bursting to blow at the seams of my heart. As if this was love that I felt. Falling for somebody else. Taking my eyes from the ground, turning my heart upside down. As if this could change all the past, fixing the bruise from the last time that I felt anything. As if this was love that I felt, as if this was somebody else. Out in colourful sparks, brought back to light from the dark, broke out in shimmering waves to my heart. Sepia tint but the same, familiar in simplified ways, broke down the lily white scars to my heart. As if this was love that I felt, falling for somebody else, taking my eyes from the ground, turning my heart upside down.
This is Blackleach Country Park and Reservoir. It's a little oasis of calm, about half a mile outside of Walkden town centre. But it hasn't always been a nice place to come and walk your dog. Way back when it was a brickworks, then after that it was a chemical works, in particular a dye works. You don't think that you buy dye every week when you go shopping, but you actually do. It's in all of your washing detergents and washing powders. Every one of them has blue or purple dye in it. It makes your whites look whiter. It's the same way that whitening toothpaste works. That's got a little bit of blue or purple dye in it, which makes your teeth look whiter. It cancels out the yellow. Back in Victorian times, you would have bought dye separately, along with your Sunlight soap from Lever Brothers. And most industrial towns would have had some kind of dye works in it. The one round here used to spew out purple dye everywhere. Apparently if you hung your washing outside, your whites wouldn't be whiter, they'd be mauve, because of all the purple dye coming out of the chimneys of the factory. There used to be a giant pile of chemical waste here that the people of Walkden used to call Stink Bomb Hill. That's because it smelt of egg, of all the sulphur from the dye works. It was believed by the locals that if you took your child up there, you could cure them of whooping cough because of all the chemicals up there. Because in Victorian times, chemicals were good. Chemicals cured everything. Whereas in modern times, we think about chemicals as being bad. Where in actuality, it's somewhere in between, isn't it? You need chemicals for some things, and you need no chemicals for other things. I tell you what does need chemicals. Capri Sun. That used to be nicer when it had all them E numbers in, didn't it? That's Bimble.
This was love that I felt, as if this was somebody else. As if this was love that I felt, falling for somebody else. Taking my eyes from the ground, turning my heart upside down. As if this could change all the past, fixing the bruise from the last time that I felt anything. As if this was love that I felt, as if this was somebody else.
Well, Bimblers, I think it's finally going to start raining. The reason why I've had a cagoule on all day. The BBC said it would rain this morning, but it never came. But I can feel a few spots in the air. It's a good job we're at Journey's End, Ashton's Field. We've just been bimbling down something called the Linnishore Loop Line, which is an ex-railway. It would have been the Bridgewater Colliery Railway, and it would have linked this, Ashton's Field, to Worsley Delph. Ashton's Field was a colliery right up until the 1960s, and there would have been a lattice work of railways and loop lines all serving the colliery. The Linnishore Loop Line, the Row Green Loop Line, the Tildesley Loop Line, all of which are now cycle paths for us to enjoy. We'll have to come back, won't we? But you might be thinking to yourself, Kieran, if it was all railways round here, what's with the lock gates? Was there a canal? Well, no. These are symbolic, these lock gates. They're not real. There's never been a canal on top of the earth here, but underneath the earth, stretching out from Worsley Delph all the way to Falmouth in Bolton, is a canal with tendrils coming off to all the different collieries, all designed by James Brindley. Just think, underneath my feet right now, there's a canal still there, with all the infrastructure, all the lock gates and all the workings still in place. I'd love to see it in a picture. Don't actually want to go down there. Quite happy on these loop lines. And speaking of loop lines, we're off back down one to get home before it starts raining.